video I'm going to show you a method for learning and practicing polychords. For me personally, the understanding of polychords has been of great importance when it comes to comprehend the underlying structures of jazz harmonies and be able to improvise over them. So I did a recording of the jazz standard Beautiful Love. We are going to listen to parts of that recording, take a look at every single chord, explore the polychords, and then create a method so we can practice them. My name is Mattias Windemo. Stay tuned. Let us stop there for a moment. You hear me playing over the upper structure triads, but in the last 4 bars we just heard, it's very clearly how it sounds like when you play over upper structure triads. So let us listen to that again. Okay, let's stop there again. We have been listening to how it sounds like when you improvise over polychords. It's a very special, deep, profound sound, I think, and I really like it myself. Now we will go through all the chords in Beautiful Love and try to transform them into polychords and also find a method to practice them. So let's start. And the first thing we see is a 2-5-1 progression, a very common thing in jazz. E minor 7 flat 5, that goes to a A7, to a D minor chord. So let's focus on what I think it's the most prominent, the most important chord here, and that's the dominant chord, the A7 chord. The 2 minor 7 flat 5 is more of a secondary chord to the dominant chord, I would say. Let's focus on the dominant chord first, and the chord I play on the recording is so this chord is a A7 sharp 5 sharp 9, and this is actually a polychord, because we have a F triad on top, and at the bottom we have an A7 chord. I don't play the key note because I don't have fingers enough, so you can let the bass player play that note. And I don't play the natural 5th because in the upper structure triad here, in the F triad, we have the sharp 5, so we simply can't play the sharp 5 and the natural 5 at the same time here. Okay? So this is a polychord. If we want to play a A7 flat 5 flat 9 instead of the sharp 5 sharp 9, we can play an E flat triad instead of the F triad over A7. So actually we have two upper structure triads here, F and E flat. And what if we combine all the notes from the F triad and the E flat triad with a root chord, the A7 chord? If we do that, we will have a scale, and that scale is A altered scale. And A altered scale is simply a combination of all the notes from the two upper structure triads combined with a root chord. And that's amazing, I think. So we have a polychord, actually two polychords, and we have a scale. And I also think we need an exclusive arpeggio so we can describe the polychord. If we go from this chord, the F over A7, so this is a description of the A7 sharp 5 sharp 9. So now we have a polychord, two polychords actually. We have an altered scale, and we have an arpeggio, an exclusive arpeggio, a A7 sharp 5 sharp 9 arpeggio. So now, when we have all this, we need to improvise with it, with the material. So you can't only play it in a static way. It's good to begin with, to play it in a static way. But then we need to improvise. And to improvise, we need a context. And we already have a context. We have a A7 chord that goes to a D minor. So you can record it and play along with it. So A7 chord. A7 chord to the D minor. Right? So now we have a polychord, we have a scale, we have an arpeggio, and we have a method. So now let's move on to the next chord. But before we move on, let's go back to the E minor 7 flat 5 again. Remember that I told you earlier that this chord is a secondary chord to the A7 dominant chord. And that's right. But at the same time, it's not. We can make this chord a little bit more independent. A chord of its own. So what I play on the recording is this chord. So this is a polychord. This is a 2 minor 7 flat 5 chord. And this is a E minor 7 flat 5, but it's also something else. It's a combination of a D triad and a E minor 7 flat 5. So this is a polychord, right? So now we have discovered the polychord. Now let's make an exclusive arpeggio out of it. So remember that we have a method now. Or it's up to you, but be consistent. So now we have a polychord, we have an exclusive arpeggio, and we need a scale. So what if we combine the notes from the D triad with the notes from the E minor 7 flat 5. If we do that, we will have this scale. So this scale is called Eloquent Natural 9. Alright, so now we have a polychord, we have an exclusive arpeggio, we have a scale, and now, what you want to do now? Improvise with it. Improvise with the material. Absolutely. In a context. In a context. And the context can be 2-5-1. So you can record that and play along with it. Yeah, remember that I normally tune my guitar in fourth. All right. So now let's move on to the next potential polychord. And as I see it, it's the D7 chord to the G minor chord. And this is a dominant chord to minor. And we already had that before, so we have experience of this. We just do it in the exact same way. So we know that we will have two upper triads when we play a dominant chord to minor, right? And the upper triads in this case is from the sharp 5, it's a B flat triad and it's an A flat triad. So a B flat triad over D7 is similar to a D7 sharp 5 sharp 9, and a A flat triad over D7 is the same as a D7 flat 5 flat 9, right? And what's next? Let's make an exclusive arpeggio out of this, right? Like we did before. And as I said, you can do it in your own way. I just pick something now. Maybe. Okay. And now we combine the B flat triad, the A flat triad, with the notes from the D7 chords, the root, third, and the flat 7. Root, third, major third, and the flat 7. And that will give us an altered scale. So now we have a polychord, and we have an exclusive polychord arpeggio, and we have a scale. So what's next? Let's improvise and let's create a context. Okay, good luck with that. So let's move on. Okay, so now it's time for the C7 dominant chord, but this time to major. So we have a C7 to F major. And the chord I use on the recording is this chord. And this chord is a C7 with flat 9 and a 13 on top. And that will give us an A major triad, A triad over C7. Okay? And if we create an arpeggio out of this kind of chord, it can sound like, alright? So remember to play it in a static way for a moment, for 1 minute or 2, or as long as you feel you need it. And then, soon after that, you need to improvise. Right? And a very common scale to play over this chord is the diminished scale. So now we have discovered the polychord, we have an arpeggio, a polychord arpeggio, we have a scale, and now it's time to improvise again, but this time in a context, and you can always find the context in the song. C7 to F major. Right? Okay, so let's move on. B flat. A B flat chord. And the chord I improvised over on the recording is right? So this is a C triad over a B flat 7 chord, a C triad over a B flat 7 chord, and it's similar to a B flat 7 with 9, sharp 11 and 13. Are you with me? So it's a B flat 7, 9, sharp 11, 13. Now we will combine the upper structure triad with a root chord. If we do that here, we will get this scale. I will call that scale a Mixolydian sharp 4. Sometimes you will hear the name Lydian flat 7. It's the same scale. I call it simply Mixolydian sharp 4. Okay, so now we have a polychord once more, and we have a scale, and we need to create an exclusive arpeggio. Maybe. So we can describe the polychord. Okay? And what's next? Of course, we need to improvise, and we create a context. So the context here is already in the song, actually. So we can create a loop here. B flat 7, A7 to D minor. But what we practice now is the B flat 7 chord. A altered, D minor, and again B flat 7, A altered again, over and over again, and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And don't stop, because maybe you need to play it 50 times, 100 times. So now I think we have all the polychords I played on the recording. So well done, everybody. So now it's time to practice, and take your time. Stay as long as you need in every single chord. So create a progress. Just be in the moment, in the progress, and the results will come. Good luck!